So let's jump into Second Chronicles 25. Amaziah has just become king. His father had ruled in righteousness for a while, Joash, and then he went wicked when the political people started taking over and influencing him more. So we're going to learn more about Amaziah in this chapter. Now, Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a perfect heart. So that means he did good stuff. He did right. He was trying to keep commandments and follow those things, but he didn't quite have a perfect heart. He wasn't quite all the way into it, basically, or wasn't wholeheartedly worshiping God because he wanted to worship God, basically. Remember, the priests kind of revolted last time, and so they're trying to bring this back up. So he's going along with it, but he's not quite into it all the way. Doesn't have you could probably say his testimony of following God is not very strong. So he's looking. He probably has other interests and other ideas, but he's not willing to bring them up at that point, basically. Now, verse 3, and now it came to pass when the kingdom was established to him that he slew his servants that had killed the king his father. Isn't that interesting? The two, the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Edomite, basically, they were, or the Moabite and the Ammonite from the last chapter, the two that, no, yeah, Moabite and Ammonite, they were, they slew Joash. So now Amaziah is the king. So he kind of owes his ability to be king at this age to them, but because they were revolutionaries, he slew them. He got rid of them, basically. They went against the king, basically. So he got rid of them. But he slew not their children, but did as it is written in the law in the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, the fathers shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers, but every man shall die for his own sin. So he leaves their children alone, basically. It doesn't bother the kids, leaves the families there. Sometimes they would wipe out the whole families, because if they didn't, sometimes the families would feel they were slighted in the murder of their family member. So it just turned into this tit for tat kind of, back and forth, two families feuding kind of a thing that would go on for a long time and cause a lot of problems. But verse 5, moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and made them captains over thousands and over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers. Throughout all Judah and Benjamin, he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men, able to go forth to war, that could handle spear and shield. So whenever they count and they make people captains over thousands and hundreds and things, they're preparing for war. He's marshaling an army. That's a very common sign. Whenever that language comes up, they're marshaling an army. They're preparing for battle. Verse 6, he hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. But if thou wilt go, do it. Be strong for the battle. God shall make thee fall before the enemy. For God hath power to help and to cast down. So this man of God came to him and said, don't use Israel. Don't use those guys. God is not with them. It's not going to work out. So just go with our army to battle, basically. But he says, basically, you really shouldn't go to battle. But if you do, do the best you can. But of course, realize that you're probably not going to win. God's not going to be with you. Verse 9, and Amaziah said to the man of God, but what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of God answered, the Lord is able to give thee much more than this. So Amaziah is worried. Well, I've already paid these guys. What do I do now? They're not going to give me my money back. And he's like, don't worry about the money. God can pay you more than that at any time. Don't worry about it. Verse 10, then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. So now he's kind of pissed them off. They're offended because they're paid to go kill people. They want to go kill people, and they can't. They're being told not to. They're not getting, that he's not demanding his money back, but he's not taking them, and so they're offended because they wanted to go kill people, and they're not being allowed to now. Verse 11, and Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went to the valley of Salt, and smote of the children of Seir 10,000. And another 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they all were broken in pieces. So they killed 10,000 in the valley, then they they killed a bunch in the valley, and they left 10,000 alive to carry away captive. They took them up to a cliff, and they threw them off the cliff. Crazy. This is just so stupid what they're willing to do to each other. It's so sad. Verse 13, but the soldiers of the army which Amaziah sent back, that they should not go with him to battle, i.e., the Israelites, they fell upon the cities of Judah, from Samaria even unto Beth Horon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. So they got offended, and so they decided, we're going to take it out on Judah. If Judah's not going to use us in battle, we're going to take it out on them. So while Judah's away fighting, they went down and destroyed Judah. Just crazy what these people do. I'd love to hear your comments. What do you think about this? Could you imagine being alive at this time? Like, what would go through your mind if you were alive at this time? Verse 14, now it came to pass after Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the children of Seir, and set them up to be his gods, and bowed down himself before them, and burned incense unto them. So here we have that situation where he wasn't wholeheartedly following the God, and now he's following the strange gods of his enemies. Verse 15, wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, which said unto him, why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thine hand? And it came to pass, as he talked with him, that the king said unto him, art thou made of the king's counsel? Forbear, why shouldest thou be smitten? Then the prophet forbare, and said, I know that God hath determined to destroy thee, because thou hast done this, and hast not hearkened unto my counsel. So the prophet goes and says, hey, God's saying, why are you disobeying me? Why are you not doing this? Why are you worshiping these false gods? And the king's like, wait, aren't you part of the king's council? Why should I have to reprimand you? You're part of my council. And so he's like, look, okay, fine, whatever, but just know God's not happy with you, and he's going to overthrow you because you're wicked. Verse 17, then Amaziah, king of Judah, took advice, and sent to Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, come, let us see one another in the face. So now, okay, Amaziah hired some of Israel's army. They got offended. Israel's army destroyed, came in and spoiled Judah, took a bunch of property and land and stuff. So now Amaziah, who's the king of Judah, and Joash, the king of Israel, are going to have to reconcile this. So he's like, let's get together and figure this out, reconcile this together. Verse 18, and Joash, king of Israel, went to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, the thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, give thy daughter to my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trode down the thistle. So he's giving a parable here, basically saying, you asked for help, and you didn't give us what we asked for, so we destroyed you, basically. Verse 19, thou sayest, lo, thou hast smitten the Edomites, and thine heart lifteth thee up to boast. Abide now at home. Why shouldest thou meddle to thine hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? But Amaziah would not hear, for it came of God, that he might deliver them into the hand of their enemies, because they sought after the gods of Edom. So Joash, king of Israel, went up, and they saw one another in the face, both he and Amaziah, king of Judah, at Beth Shemesh, which belongeth to Judah. And Judah was put to the worse before Israel, and they fled every man to his tent. So this is the challenge, is they came together, and there was a bit of a bitter argument between these two guys going, why are you destroying us? We shouldn't be fighting each other. And they're like, well, why are you destroying us? Well, you should, why aren't you working with us and things? So both sides are pretty offended at each other. It's kind of a tit for tat situation. And so when it says that every man fled to his tent, that's usually they're fleeing to their tent so they can get their swords and armor to go to battle, basically. Verse 23, and Joash the king of Israel took Amaziah king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Bethshemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and the silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of God with Obed-Edom, and the treasures of the king's house, and the hostages also, and returned to Samaria. So they basically kidnapped the king, in essence, kind of held him, just walked in and just destroyed Jerusalem, took out a big section of the wall, marched into Jerusalem, took a bunch of gold and silver, and raided the place, basically. Verse 25, and Amaziah the son of Joash, being king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, are they not written in the books of the kings of Judah and Israel? Now after the time that Amaziah did turn away from following the Lord, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. So this happens all the time. The king goes bad, starts encouraging wickedness, and what happens? There's a coup to get him out. Somebody is going to fight against him. And he goes to Lachish. Now, Lachish is one of the wealthy suburbs of Jerusalem. It's kind of an area where a lot of the wealthy or the powerful in Jerusalem, in Israel, would live, basically, in Judah, I should say, really. But they sent to Lachish after him and slew him there, and they brought him upon horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. So now Amaziah is gone. They didn't like him. There's a faction against him in Judah. They ousted him. Time for the next king. So let's go to the next chapter to learn about what happens to Judah next.